When you think of wild boars, the first thing that comes to mind is chaos, right? They invade crops. Farmers try to get rid of them. Hunters chasing after them. But what if I told you that some people are actually making money, a lot of money, by farming wild boars? That's right, there are farms in Brazil that have hundreds of these animals and are turning a profit from it. It might sound crazy at first, but some farmers took a different approach. Instead of waiting for the boars to show up and destroy everything, they decided to set up a proper, legal structure and turn this threat into a successful business. And this isn't exactly a new thing. In several countries, wild boar farming is a well-established business, mainly because of the meat, which is considered exotic and upscale, the kind of meat that people pay top dollar for at fancy restaurants. A great example comes from Finland. In Finland, farming wild boars is quite common. The meat is sold mainly during special occasions like Christmas, Easter, and even during barbecue seasons. And it's not just fresh meat. You've got sausages, cured meats, and even entire boars being sold. One farm there, located in a rural area, raises about 150 boars on just 2 hectares. The boars are kept in large enclosures, but they live freely inside fenced areas. They are separated into different sections. Females and their growing piglets each have their own space. The sows, female wild boars, have small huts made of wire and wood, though many prefer to build their nests on their own, in the grass, the natural way. And all of this is done in compliance with strict government regulations. The fences are reinforced with electric wires both inside and outside, and they are regularly checked. Their diet is entirely natural, consisting of grains, hay, silage, and other farm-grown produce. The breeding process is also controlled. Each sow only gives birth once a year, usually to 4 to 6 piglets, which nurse until fall before switching to solid food. The boars stay on the farm until about 1.5 years old, when they reach the ideal weight and their meat is at its best: red, rich, lean, and flavorful. This is the type of meat that Europeans love and are willing to pay a premium for. But this trend hasn't stayed just in Europe. In Brazil, some farmers also began legally and organized farming wild boars. One of the biggest examples of this came from a city called Brotas, in the state of São Paulo. This farm story goes back about 10 years, and although we don't hear much about it anymore, at the time it was considered one of the largest wild boar farms in the country, if not the largest. The property spanned 115 hectares and raised over 200 animals, all legally approved by IBAMA, the Brazilian Environmental Institute. The regulations were very strict to ensure everything was done properly. The wild boars were kept in smaller, enclosed pens, making it easier to manage and care for them. The entire area was surrounded by double fencing, one made of wire and another with electrical wiring. Additionally, a concrete slab was installed in the ground to prevent the boars from digging tunnels and escaping. Wild boars are strong, smart, and excellent diggers. Without a good physical barrier, they'll escape in no time. Each wild boar on the farm was fitted with an ID chip, as required by IBAMA. This helped monitor every animal, from birth to slaughter. The goal was to ensure everything was done by the book and to prevent any boars from escaping and causing further environmental damage. Dino Cesar Pereira, the farm's manager, mentioned in an interview that the biggest concern was always preventing escapes. He explained how much damage free-roaming wild boars cause. They uproot newly planted corn, destroy sugarcane fields, and even attack domestic pigs. Even the boars' diet was taken seriously. Everything they ate came from the farm itself: corn, pumpkins, sugarcane, grass, all fresh, directly from the fields. This well-balanced diet gave the meat a flavor very similar to what the boars would have had in the wild. And this detail makes all the difference. According to Vera Pereira, the farm's cook, this meat has almost no fat. And the little fat that's there is easy to remove. It's much healthier. And it seems that people are starting to appreciate this unique taste. The price of the meat even went up. One year, the price paid to the farmer increased by 25%. And the most interesting part? The meat sold out fast. Upscale restaurants, specialty butcher shops, and gourmet markets all fought for wild boar meat because it became a high-end, unique option, unlike anything else. It's a small market, but those who are in it are making good profits. But as with anything in life, not everything is smooth sailing. Farming wild boars in Brazil isn't just about setting up the pens, feeding the animals, and watching them grow. It's a serious business with a lot of rules. IBAMA, the authority responsible for overseeing and authorizing this type of farming, imposed a strict set of requirements to ensure it doesn't turn into an even bigger problem than it already is. One of the main reasons for all this regulation has a name: pig boars. Ever heard of them? They're the result of crossbreeding between wild boars and domestic pigs. And believe me, this hybrid has become a massive headache for both the environment and agriculture. These creatures multiply at an astonishing rate, are aggressive, resilient, and incredibly difficult to control. And the worst part? They're spreading across various regions of Brazil. Because of this, capturing wild boars from nature to start a farm is now completely illegal. This is a serious offense and can result in severe consequences. Farmers are only allowed to work with animals sourced from licensed breeders who comply with all sanitary, environmental, and regulatory standards and undergo constant monitoring. And the requirements don't end there. The licenses for wild boar farming are very specific. It's not just a matter of asking for permission, and that's it. The location where the animals will be kept must be inspected. The infrastructure must meet a series of strict standards: reinforced fences, secure enclosures, surveillance systems, and so on. The control has to be total. Any mistake, like a hole in the fence, a gap in surveillance, or even a mistake in animal handling, can be very costly. We're talking about heavy fines, license suspension, or even an environmental crime lawsuit. In other words, farming wild boars is no joke. It requires preparation, responsibility, and commitment to the law. If just one animal escapes, it could mate with domestic pigs, spreading even more of these destructive hybrids across the country. It's a ticking time bomb. This is where two sides emerge. On one hand, you have those who see this situation as a great opportunity, turning a problem into profit. They recognize the value of wild boar meat, invest in a legal farm, and introduce a unique product into the market. On the other hand, there are those who raise alarms, reminding us that poorly planned farming without control could lead to irreversible damage to the environment, native wildlife, and even crops. That's where an example like the Broda's farm in São Paulo comes in. It stands as proof that, with the right structure, investment, and responsibility, it is possible to turn wild boars, which were once seen as a menace, into a profitable business that stays within the law. But let's be clear, farming wild boars is very different from farming pigs. Wild boars are wilder, more resistant, more intelligent, and require much more stringent control. Handling them is more complex. The risk of escape is very real, and any mistake could be very costly. So, anyone looking to enter this field must be well prepared. Really well prepared. You have to study the animal's behavior, understand how reproduction works, invest heavily in containment, know the legislation inside and out, and be ready to take full responsibility for everything that happens inside and outside the farm. Because while wild boars can be profitable, they come with an enormous responsibility. That's why, before jumping in and starting a farm, it's essential to do thorough research. Farmers must understand the behavior of wild boars, invest in secure enclosures, and be fully aware of all the regulations. Because yes, it can be profitable, but it also comes with a huge responsibility. And if you've made it this far, you probably liked the video, right? So, check out this other one that's popping up on the screen. Farmer creates giant ditch to fight wild boars on his farm. If you want to help us continue bringing you more agro-related content, hit subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment to let us know what you think. See you in the next video. Bye.